What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. You're probably asking yourself, what happened to the introductory bit that I use in the beginning of all my videos? Unfortunately, my laptop died a very sudden death, and that is what I use to edit the content on this channel. But luckily, with that said, I did just purchase a brand new one, but it's just a matter of extracting some stuff from the old hard drive, such as the intro and outro bits that I use in my videos, to the new laptop, and I can get back to my usual style of editing. So until then, which will probably be for about another week or so, I'm just going to be filming these videos straight from my phone with minimum editing and uploading straight to YouTube. That way I make it a point to upload on a regular basis, which is every Friday, so I didn't want to miss out on about a week or so's worth of uploads. Before I get into what this video is all about, I do want to say that I just gladly reached my 100 subscriber mark, and honestly it is such a big accomplishment for me with this channel, considering the way that I've been running it. This is only a hobby. I know that there's other vinyl YouTubers that edit things so lovingly and it looks all nice, but I'm just sitting on my floor behind my records filming with an iPhone with some editing. I share it on social media for people that are into it, and I just try to tag it the right way so it reaches the right kind of audience. And just the fact that there's people that come to this channel every week and check out my new uploads, it really does mean a lot. So to all my subscribers, old and new, thank you so much. And if anyone that hasn't subscribed, if you guys enjoy these videos, please show me that you're into it. Please subscribe to the channel. Every bit helps. I've noticed that every upload that I have put on this channel, I've gotten a little bit more people, and it's slowly growing. And honestly, it's really cool. So stay tuned, guys. There's going to be all kinds of great new content coming your way. So anyways, today's video is going to be all about my recent acquisitions from this year's 2018's Record Store Day. Like I said in a previous video, I did not go this year, but of course that doesn't hold me back from picking up some releases that I really wanted. And I would say for the most part, I got everything that I wanted, because there were so many good titles that came out this year, but you have to think for yourself as a collector, like, do I buy it because I want it in my collection? Do I buy it because it's a Record Store Day release and it's super limited, blah, blah, blah? That's the one thing I really had to take a grasp on, because in particular, like the David Bowie releases, they are cool. Like there was the Welcome to the Blackout live album, the Let's Dance 12-inch. But here's the thing, that Welcome to the Blackout live album, they just reissued the Stage album as a 3 LP set, and it has the same track listing, and that's kind of more readily available for a little bit lower of a price. That's kind of the way I see it. So why have two copies of this kind of the same thing? I mean, the only difference is that they were recorded in different locations, but that's kind of what I had to come to terms with this year. But I'm going to get to what I am going to show you. Now, this first record that I'm going to show was the absolute top #1 release that I really wanted this year. And from what I'd seen on YouTube of people showcasing what they had gotten from this year's Record Store Day, this was one that appeared in a lot of videos, and I think a lot of people were jumping for this release. And it makes sense, because this release has not really gone down in price. It's kind of stayed where it's always been when it first hit the market, and it sometimes has gone even up higher depending on where it's being sold from. You can probably guess what it is, but this is it. This is Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Mono Edition. This is my favorite Pink Floyd record. I am a diehard fan of the Syd Barrett stuff, all the early psychedelic stuff, and when this was announced, I knew right off the bat that this was a must-have for my collection. Now, I already do own, I'll pull it out. I already have the recent stereo edition that was put out recently, and I am not too big on owning multiple pressings and variants of the same album, but this was an absolute exception. This is the first time in a long time that this album has seen a mono release, and surprisingly enough, the mono edition is one I was not most fond of. I've always been more familiar with the stereo version. I did, however, previously own the mono edition. It came with the 40th anniversary version of the album on CD, It's the mono, stereo, and a bonus disc of some assorted extras and single tracks and whatnot. But the way that they did this was very nice. It comes in a kind of cardboard wallet sleeve, and there's a little bit of a gold design right here, which is essentially the back cover, which I'll show. Sorry for the glare. And then it opens up like this. You gotta really handle this record carefully because you don't want to possibly break the sort of thing that you put in on the cardboard sleeve. It's very, very fragile, so you want to be very careful. So it opens up like that, and there is a great poster in here of the band, and this is essentially the basis of the back cover of the album and what the Record Store Day edition is. So you can see there's the band right there. Very nice. And I will showcase the album itself. So it comes in the standard original cover sleeve, and then here's the back side. And of course, like all the early Floyd stuff, it looks like a fold over, and it's very deceiving. It's just printed on, but it does look kind of realistic. And of course it says on the bottom 33 1/3, a mono recording. And I'll show off the also I put the hype stickers on the polyline sleeve, and it says the classic album remastered from the original mono mix, heavyweight 180 gram vinyl, limited edition packaging, contains poster, and it says remastered from the original mono analog tapes by James Guthrie, Joel Plante, and Bernie Grundman from 2018. Now, from listening to this, I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, the sonics on this is great, and it's great to experience this album in a different style than the stereo version, because you can really notice some very distinctive differences between the both. I believe this was a new digital remaster that was done by James Guthrie and Joel Plante. Those two guys are like the Pink Floyd audio gurus. They've kind of done all the recent remasterings of stuff. But then, of course, Bernie Grundman cut the lacquers for these, and they sound fantastic. He did all the other Floyd reissues that have come out in recent years, and they sound absolutely wonderful. Comes on a gold Columbia label, which isn't exactly how it was when this first came out back in '67. But they are going for a little something different. I think it's to kind of match like the gold design that's on the front of the cover, which is nice. Pressed at the Optimal pressing plant in Europe, and it sounds very good, very clean vinyl. So no, surface noise or anything of that sort. So I was very pleased. And funny story when it came to listening to this. I listened to this with my girlfriend. She knows I'm a big diehard Floyd fan, and I was like, you need to listen to this album with me. I'm saving this just for you. We listened to it, and when Bike was like fading out, I was like, that's it. And she's like, I want more of this. I want more of this. That's how you know she's a keeper. But anyways, that was the #1 release. Now, this other release was #2 on my list. So the Floyd and this next release were like the top ones that I really, really did want for my collection. When this was announced, it kind of was a hint that this was going to be a very good Record Store Day in terms of releases. And this was another one that a lot of people went for. Of course, you probably know what I'm talking about. The Led Zeppelin 7-inch. There's no distinctive name for the 7-inch, but it does contain the songs Rock and Roll and Friends. Now, if you have been keeping up with the new stuff that's been coming out of the Zeppelin canon in recent years, Jimmy Page has been reissuing each album with different mixes and versions of the songs that appear on the album. So for Rock and Roll, we get the Sunset Sound mix, and then we also get the Olympic Studios mix of the song Friends. So there's the front with the cymbals, and here's the back side, and of course it all comes with a nice little hologram to prove its authenticity. And I gotta say, the version of Rock and Roll on the 7-inch sounds absolutely killer. More bass, the guitar is a bit more up front as compared to the original version that's on the 4th album, and Friends is essentially just straight up acoustic, no strings or anything that appear on the album version on Led Zeppelin 3. This does come on very nice yellow vinyl, and the adapter is built right in there. very nicely done, and this sounds absolutely spectacular as well. And I think I got this for about $12, which I thought was kind of justifiable since 7-inches kind of go for a little more than the average price on Record Store Day. And from what I've seen, this kind of goes for like 20 bucks or more. So I was able to pull the trigger on this the day after Record Store Day at a decent price that I haven't really seen since then. Also, I should mention with the Piper at the Gates of Dawn release, I placed the order for that on the day of Record Store Day, like in the evening, from a seller in, I believe it was Poland. Kind of had to wait a bit for it to ship because he did have a lot of records from this year's Record Store Day on sale, and it came, I believe, within a week. So, and it was packaged very nicely too, so everything came intact. This last release that I'm going to show you was something that I was aware of, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger on it. There's a little bit of history to this, and I'll explain it. And that right here is The Doors, Live at the Matrix Volume 2, Let's Feed Ice Cream to the Rats. Now, interesting thing with the Matrix stuff. The Doors played this venue in California called The Matrix back in 1967, a little bit after the first album came out, and the guy that ran the club used to record all the acts that would come around. Now, this isn't the first time that the Matrix stuff has seen a release. Back in 2008, there was a CD called Live at the Matrix 67 that came out, and there was a little bit of hoopla over what tapes were used, and they weren't necessarily the first generation masters. Not quite sure what happened with that in terms of what was used. I'm sure you Doors fanatics will know, but it wasn't until recently that they got a hold of those first generation masters, and they've been putting them out specifically for Record Store Day releases. Like I said, this is part 2. Part 1 came out last year on Record Store Day, back in 2017, and I kind of kicked myself for not jumping on it when I did, because it kind of goes for a lot of money as of right now, and I really want to snag a copy of it because I feel not so much of a completist for only having part 2, but this will do for them in the meantime. So I'll show it off. And this is numbered, limited edition of 13,000, and I have copy number 4,753. Now, the part 1 that came out last year had songs that were mainly featured on the first album, but on this one, we have songs specifically from like the Strange Days record. So you have things like Unhappy Girl, Moonlight Drive, People Are Strange, My Eyes Have Seen You, Can't See Your Face in My Mind. This is really, really great. And it sounds, it's not a full-on professional sounding recording. It just sounds like a couple of mics were set up and was recorded straight to like a reel-to-reel machine. But this is absolutely great, and it's a great way to listen to the Doors at that early stage in their career. I'll show off the inner sleeve. We have the credits right here, and you have a pretty cool photo of the band by the Golden Gate Bridge. And then I'll show off the label. Comes on standard black vinyl. There's the label right there. And this was also done by Bernie Grundman, and this was pressed at NPO in France. So pretty much that is all that I got from this year's Record Store Day. Like I said, it was just a matter of justifying what I really wanted for my collection personally, and not just buying things because they were Record Store Day releases. Anyways, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the record spinning.